Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to my recap and review of Blood of My Blood Season 1, Episode 4, A Soldier's Heart. Alrighty then, my Outlander fans and stans, let's jump into what we got going on this week. Well, actually, let me step back. I want to do a little clarifying and ask for some help, actually. All right. So one of the things with this series, right, I've shared that I mostly am just watching these and recapping and reviewing as like a normal viewer. I thought that's what this could be, but of course I'm a big fan, and as any of us who watched Outlander did, we're trying to make the connections, right? And what's fun about this show is it is reminding me of some things that I did already know that I'd forgotten, just because there is such a vast amount of information within Outlander, and the stories that briefly mention Jamie's parents or Claire's parents are so few and far between that there's a lot of room for interpretation. But there are also these pieces that got picked up through time. Like, as I mentioned when I was talking about Archbug in a previous episode, he does drop quite a few little quotes over the years through the books about what things were like with Jamie's dad and some things that went down with Colm and Dougal that I had completely read past, right? As I have shared before, if you've watched any of my like Outlander book reviews or you came to book club, any of that, there are literally 9 books just in the main books worth of information, and I've read most of the books a minimum of 4 times. Some of them I've read more. I can't pick up everything, like, good Lord. So there are different things that get called to my memory as we go. But anyway, my point of bringing that up is that I had forgotten about Davina Porter, which I just want to bring up right away, that this got me looking at the family tree. So the reason I was looking at the family tree was, as I said, because of the fact that Brian's mother is Davina Porter, and we'll get into that more of like how I came upon that in the story. But I want to ask for what I said about getting some help. I did ask within Diana's like Facebook post, but obviously that is a tough place to go. And I gotta tell ya, I hate AI. Guys, I told you this before when I think I reacted to the teaser trailer. I fucking hate AI. I'm sorry to swear so early in the video, but it won't even get basic facts correct. And then it's like all the other things when you try to Google something, just refer back to the AI, right? And they're wrong, okay? Because what I was trying to look up is, once I looked up, I was looking up Davina, so I have the family tree here. And the thing is, the family tree doesn't have dates for stuff, which is understandable because a lot of the people in here are connected to different time periods and stuff. But it does have Jacob and Anne, which, if you didn't know, Anne Grant is the, mother to Jacob's children. And there was 6 children, and one of you guys kindly pointed out to me that there was also Flora Mackenzie, who died very young, because I was listing off the siblings. And I was trying to look at what their birth order was, just to get an idea, because, I mean, that tells us a lot, right? And we already know that Jocasta and Janet are already married off to people, but I was just wondering what the rest of the birth order was, because I don't think that it's in order in this family tree. I wanted that to be confirmed for me or not, okay? Because I don't think it's right in this family tree. I think that the order with which they were listed here was to fit with the rest of the tree. That's why there's not any dates listed and stuff, and I'll tell you why. Because it has Ellen as the oldest, but then it has it go Ellen, Janet, Flora, Jocasta, Colm, and Dougal. So it has Dougal as the youngest. And I'm, well, it has both the boys as the youngest, but of course, that would still make Colm the oldest son. But I don't know, just the way that it was kind of explained, I thought it kind of went Ellen, Colm, Dougal, and then the other sisters. And I just wanted that to be confirmed, okay? I know I'm going on a rant, but you're here for me. Okay, you're here for me, or why are you watching this, right? Because this is about my opinions on the show, not an unbiased thing. But I was simply just trying to get that, like, for sure. Like, I just wanted to know. And if you Google how old are the Mackenzie children in Outlander, it will tell you that Colum and Dougal are the oldest. But again, it will say, like, the oldest son, and the second, you know, it won't even say that Ellen is the oldest. Like, it doesn't list that anywhere. The things it keeps referring to is stuff that has to do with the show. And I don't want to look at that. I want to look at what Diana has said, and I can't seem to find that. So I'm just wondering if it has been put somewhere and I missed it, because even the wiki, it will just list who the kids are. And obviously we know that Ellen is older than both of the men, and Colum is older than Dougal, right? It's like one of those games that you had in math class for deductive reasoning, but I don't know where everyone else fits. And again, it's not the end of the world. Mostly I'm just pissed because I hate that AI blabs its computer mouth about stuff. That's a lie. Because one of the things it said when I looked was that Colum was the oldest of the children or whatever, which we know isn't true. And then it just starts, like, it lists who they are, but I can't seem to find dates anywhere. All right, that's the thing. And so if it is said somewhere, I'm sure it has been, like, there, but the problem that, like, Google doesn't do what it used to do anymore. This is a whole other side thing. My hatred for AI goes vast beyond this. But it used to be that you would just get the top answers to your question. You didn't have AI raking the internet and picking up lies from other people, from people who aren't even maliciously maybe doing that. They just themselves don't know, so they're just writing it. And even when Reddit forums came up, they didn't have the answers either. And again, I can't see where Diana put it. So is it as simple as the family tree does have them in birth order? Because other people's children, like, are all in birth order. I just truly wanted it confirmed if this was the birth order, if it's Ellen, Janet, Flora, Jocasta, Colum, and Dougal. Okay? Am I making too big of a deal of it? Don't answer that. Don't say that. Just tell me if I'm right or wrong. Because it doesn't seem to say that anywhere else. It is in here, but again, there's no date. So I'm like, is it just listed that way because, like, there's a bunch of other stuff in this family tree? It has literally like 4 different families in it. So I'm literally just wondering if we just put that family over here because it had to connect to everything else. And then, like, Brian and Ellen, like, theirs had to connect down to here. So I'm just wondering if anyone ever has seen a place where Diana has said the actual birth order of them. If it is just this, maybe I need to go through my Outlander companion things. Maybe it's in there. But I can't find it anywhere. And AI, I don't trust it. And I don't trust, like, the articles about the show that are coming up, because the show can do what they want for the order. As long as they had Ellen be the oldest, like, that's fine. Like, they don't have to perfectly follow it, right? As much as I'm here to critique if they do or not, I don't care. As long as they had, like, Ellen and then Colum and Dougal in the right order. But I don't understand where the other ladies fit in and why no one cares about it. And why Reddit and why AI is a liar. Like, I'm just... So anyway, sorry to start out feisty in this. I'll have put a timestamp in, I guess, for when we get to it. But I just had to vent and also just ask you. Do any of you know, can you provide me with a reference for it? Not just that you heard it somewhere, but, like, do you know where the article was? Or do you know where the thing was? If YouTube won't let you put a link in my description, you can email me or reach out to me on Instagram if you know. I just want to know, okay? I am a nerd like that. And I'm just trying to figure it out, because I think that says a whole other dynamic about everything. If Colum and Dougal are truly the 2 youngest siblings overall, man, that adds a whole nother flavor to their attitudes. I would just love to know. Because the thing, too, is that I should be able to re-engineer how old Ellen and Brian are. I need to look at that. I know I could find that because I'm pretty positive Jamie says the year that his mom dies, and I can figure this stuff out from there. But that if that was really the birth order, then Colum and Dougal are young, y'all. If they're really behind all the other kids, like, isn't that interesting? Like, I don't know. It's fascinating to me because that says something vastly different too, and would honestly really explain some of the like bitterness too between like Jocasta and Ellen, because they're all older daughters than the sons, and why was Ellen treated different? You know, like, there's just so much that would explain if all of the girls were older than Colum and Dougal, so, or the women. So anywho, okay, 10 minutes in, we're gonna get into the episode, all right? And now we will refer back to me finding out about Davina Porter, which I did know, because I remember when A Family Tree was first shared, she had never said who Brian's mother was until Davina Porter started narrating the books. And if you look at her family tree, there are multiple instances of people's names being fitted in there. Like Ellen's, one of her middle names is Katrina. That was added later as well, as far as I know anyway, actually. So maybe I just spoke that out of turn. I don't know. But anyway, either way, it could also just happen because a lot of the people who work on the show do have Scottish names, and there's only you know, there's so many Scottish names that people use for stuff. So anyway, it is hot in here, so we got to get started. Even with the fan facing me, it's not really doing its job. So let's get into my episode review. Okay, this episode, A Soldier's Heart, starts off at Castle Leathers. And again, I realized that Davina was in here because when Mistress Porter speaks, it said Davina. When on the subtitles, I always have the subtitles up when I watch Outlander, at least, because you never know how thick someone's accent or the Gaelic is going to be. So, we start at Castle Leathers, and Davina is chastising Julia for angering the fairies. And of course, we had to bring in the fairy talk to get us back around to Craignadoon possibly being the place that brought her through, or the standing stones that brought her through. And so we had to enter that somewhere else. So I will say, though, that the bringing up of the fairies felt like an abrupt, like, oh shit, we should start sprinkling that in there. You know, whereas in Outlander, the way that Claire hears about them, it really works because there's a storyteller there for the gathering. And that is how she hears about it when Jamie is like relaying the story to her, you know, seductively in her ear. And she has the realization that that must be what happened because we went to watch that dance before. So for Julia, there was something where she messed up with the milk and she's like, you're going to make this so angry, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, how about I take a offering to the fairies at the stone and we'll see if that will make up. And Davina's like, okay, if you better hurry, it's probably already too late. And on her way to the fairy folk, to leave them an offering of the milk, the baby quickens for the first time, and she has a memory going back to the past the future, but her past with Henry when she's pregnant with Claire. And when she's feeling her mood for the first time, and they have this kind of like beautiful moment together. And then when she is back at Castle Leathers, she finds out that the Laird is coming back, and she knows he's gonna want to sleep with her again, and she has to continue on with this ruse. So what she does, though, is she's hoping for a trip away. I mean, I don't know if she's just hoping it'll give her a break from sleeping with him, or if her plan was to get to the apothecary. I think it was her plan to get to the apothecary because of how she was like so quick with that answer where she's like, oh, I have this rash or whatever. He really should be thinking that he has another kind of rash, if you know what I mean. But she uses these stinging nettles to do it. And, you know, Julia's doing what she has to do. And she says she hopes that Henry will understand. She's doing what she has to do to get back to him. And so she uses stinging nettles to give herself a rash and hives like all over. And then we have our intro. So we then switch to Henry, who has showed up at a brothel. And he gets led into a room. They're like, I have a Sassenach for you. And the madam of this place is not getting that he isn't just looking for a Sassenach to fuck for the night. He's looking for an English woman that is specific. But we meet this woman there who is trying to pretend to be English, and he's just like, that's not what I need. Like, you're missing out about it. And the lady is like, well, like, you paid to be here. So he's like, could I just sleep here? Would that be okay? And she's like, well, you've paid for the time, honey, no matter what. So he lies down on the bed there. Very, very sad. And the way, oh my gosh, it's just heartbreaking. Like, it's so heartbreaking because there's so many things about them that complete them. And to be torn away from your love like that, and oh, it's just heartbreaking. Okay, so then we go back to Castle Leathers, and Brian brings a letter to his father from the Grants, and the Grants are basically saying that, like, they don't believe that Ellen is tarnished, and they're kind of saying, like, even if she was, like, I mean, Malcolm Grant wants to marry her real damn bad, and the alliance is one that they want to form. And so the Laird is just like, this is not going to stand. Like, we have to do something about it because he's going to lose that relationship if he doesn't find a way to make it work. And he's like, what's so special about her? Like, I just don't get it. I mean, we're definitely going to see some things escalate with that. But Julia, he ends up seeing her rash now, and she's like, if I can go to the apothecary. And he's like, yes, I'll get the creepy guard to take her. And Brian's like, how about I take her? I need to go that way anyway for some business. How about I take her? And he agrees to let her go. And so, yeah, so now it's going to be Brian and Julia on their way on this errand. Then we go to Castle Leach, and we have Callum, sorry. I'm sorry. People are getting mad at me about this. You guys don't understand. I literally just read the Beast of Clan Kincaid, and the hero's name was Neil in that one. Sorry, that's not the one I meant. The Wolf King. I just read The Wolf King, which was Scottish, and the hero's name was Callum. Callum. Callum, I know it said different, but when I messed that up, I'm sorry. You just let it go. I had some people who were like, every time you do this, blah, blah, and when I mess up, Murta. I'm not Scottish, y'all. Okay, I don't know if you know this. I'm one of the whitest Midwestern women everywhere. It's not meant out of disrespect. It's literally my tongue betrays me, okay? Like, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm probably more worked up about it than anybody else is, but I get that comment now and then. I'm like, I'm not doing it on purpose, okay? And I do understand. It bothers me when people mess up names I love, but you just gotta take the good with the bad, all right? Anyway, Callum keeps pushing Ellen, and she won't be pushed into it. And he says she could be killed for refusing Grant, and he actually shares a story about how someone who was once engaged to this guy, like, never, or one of the Grants was never seen again. And she's like, are you threatening me? And he's like, he's like, I do care about you, and the family, like, needs this, and also it's dangerous. And she's just like, man, they just really go at it here. And she thought very highly of their father and how he did business. And Colm disabuses her of a lot of that. And he says, I have inherited all of the debts and all of the finances here. And Clan Mackenzie is broke. And she is the trade. And so he's saying, you need to do this for your family. And he also edges in. He's like, and once you're there, basically you could be our spy. And she says this. And I think this is very important for Colm to remember. And it was pretty badass. So I wrote the whole thing down. She says, when you sell a woman like this, you sell her body and her soul and her loyalty too. So be careful, because soon she would belong to the Grants and all of her allegiance would too, right? And I put in my notes, I was like, not only because, you know, if she were to care for her husband and need to look out for herself when she's there, but any sons and children she would have would be Grants. They wouldn't be Mackenzies anymore. And so who's her loyalty going to be with then? either, especially if her brothers pushed her into this. So she storms out with that. And then she runs into Dougal, and he's still trying to play tough guy, and she is trying to use her mind a little bit and play them against each other, and he's like, that time is over. I'm his war chief now. And she's like, well, we're not at war right now. So basically kind of like, you're not the one I'm dealing with. But he does like threaten to like beat her, and it just comes out so flat because it's like, looking at him, she's just like, yeah, good luck, right? Which, yeah, again, there's some stuff coming between those two that I'm really looking forward to. This is what I said. My research into Archbug made me remember one of the final interactions between Dougal and Ellen, and I'm very excited for it. It's going to be good. So then we go to Henry with the Grants, and it is quartering day, which if you'll remember, that is the time when they go pick up their rents. And because Henry is the lawyer man, right? Remember in Outlander when Claire had to go with to do the rent, she went with Dougal and Jamie and everything, and Ned went with, right? Because he is the lawyer guy. So this is Brian having to do that. And he's told he must up the rent. And now he needs to find a way to get more money from the people. And the stupid asshole Grant is very like, oh, he's so creepy. He's so creepy. Lord rest his soul. I believe that's the actor who passed. But he's very good at playing a fucking creep. Okay? So then we go to Brian and Julia who are riding together. And he's asking questions about the type of illness that she has. Which is kind of funny. I'm like, are you looking out for your dad, dude, or whatever? Because he's like, do you have it everywhere? Or does it just get there? And she's like, that's none of your business. I just love Brian. It's kind of cute. And this is the one where we, does that happen right here? Oh, no, not yet. Okay. So, yeah. So then we go back to Henry and the Grants, and there is some people not being able to pay, of course, and everyone has a sob story. And of course, Henry is very sympathetic to that, but he's also like, people, I got to do my job or it's my neck on the line. And then who are you going to have to deal with? But a guy does pick a fight with him, and his soldier comes out hard and he beats the shit out of one of the guys. And then Bug is saying, like, you know, if you can't do this, like, it's your head on the line. And he's like, we both have to bring back the money. And he's kind of like, yeah, but, like, Grant knows whose fault it would be. And Bug is a fucking snake, you guys. Like, man, they are not having him be chill at all. Like, dude, it's like, just put all the villainy in this guy. I mean, we knew it was there if you watched the other Outlander, but, like, wow. Then, we have a flashback to Henry's PTSD again, and we have him waking up with, like, his, I don't think it was his gun, I think it was the bayonet of his gun. It could have been his gun, but thankfully it was not a loaded weapon. But Julia sings to him again, and she gives him a St. Anthony pendant and says that he'll watch over you always. And war just really sucks. Like, it just really sucks all around, and seeing him hurting so much, it's just so hard. And he's like, I'm half a man to you, and she's like, I fell in love with you just like this. Like, there's nothing that I'm missing. There's nothing that you don't give me. But yeah, it's just hard. And we have him then, like, waking up from one of those PTSD things, like, in the room, like, with Bug, and Bug's being like, dude, what's wrong with you? I mean, of course he doesn't say dude, but he's just like, I had a bad dream, dude. Can you leave me alone? I'm just gonna keep saying dude, apparently. Sorry about that. So then, one of the flashbacks that he'd had about, oh wait, are we there yet? Sorry, I went too soon. Anyway, he has a nightmare. All right, then we go back to Brian and Julia again. Sorry. So she's asking him questions now about why he's still staying with his father. Like, why are you still living with daddy, man? You know, like, why haven't you moved on? And I think she's also commenting on the fact that his dad is evil. And Brian just seems so nice. Like, she's really saying that. She's like, you're such a soft-spoken, kind man. And she's like, you're also handsome. Why aren't you, married? And he's like, well, I am the bastard son. Most women aren't that interested in that. And she's like, yeah, but you're pretty cute. So I feel like some women would still be okay with that. And then he mentions that he did try making it on his own, but he makes kind of jokes about it. He's like, I missed my mom's cooking. And this is when she says Mistress Porter. So, okay, everyone, so this is when I remembered. Because she says, Mistress Porter, I'm sure misses you, but she would understand. And then I remembered that I'd seen Davina written on the screen when she was talking. So her name is Davina Porter. That's how I remembered. And then I grabbed my book to look, and I was like, oh yeah, it's in the family tree. They didn't make that up for the show to be cute. Diana made that up to honor the narrator of this book, of the book. So that's cool. But anyway, why is he still at home? And they go a bit back and forth about that. Okay, then we go to Julia and Henry in the 1917, 18, whenever it is. And there is a national lottery that's happening or something. A way to raise money, I believe, is what it was for. Either way, Henry was kind of ragging on it. He's like, why would people have nothing put into it? And she's like, well, it's the hope of something better. People are willing to risk a lot. And it's like, yeah, that's true. I mean, gambling addiction the whole way through. And so then we have Henry collecting the rents, and he's like, you know what? They've never used a lottery here. Let's make one. So yeah, introducing a very specific type of gambling into this community, that seems really smart. But it does work though, because what he's able to do is he offers a lottery to people. He's like, you need to pay what you're supposed to pay, but you can also enter this lottery, and for each whatever shilling you put in, you'll get a ticket, and we will pick a winner at the end who doesn't have to pay rent for the year. And his hope is that the amount of money people have put in will equal enough to cover what he's supposed to be bringing back to Grant. We'll see how that plays out. I have a hunch that Grant is too much of a dickhead to realize that, but moving on. All right, so then we go back to Brian and Julia now, and they have stopped outside Castle Leoch. And Brian makes a deal with Julia. He says, I need you to get a message to an Ellen Mackenzie and ask her if she truly is engaged to the Grants, and ask her to come. Well, I think he just asked her to come and meet with him is what the message is supposed to be. But he makes the deal with her that if you will do this, I will help you leave my father. And that is what the deal is going to be. I think she says, at that time, she even says she needs to get to Inverness or whatever. But either way, he offers the assistant to do that or whatever. And so she sneaks in. He tells her to ask for Mrs. Fitz if she gets caught sneaking in. And of course she does. And she says, oh, I just need a place to rest. And so Mrs. Fitz leaves her to herself there. And Julia is able to find out where Ellen's room is, and she gets Ellen to let her in. First, Ellen is like, who are you? Why are you here? And she's like, do you want to talk to Brian Fraser? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, well, I can give you the message out here in the hallway, or you can let me in so we can talk about it. Okay. And so she lets her in, and then they talk about it. And this is when, like I said, there's some very awkward conversations about the fairy folk, because we then have Ellen mention something about fairies and about what, I can't remember what she said. I'm sorry. But she mentions fairies somehow, and that leads Julia to then be like, what about the May Day and the fairies? And she goes into the whole spiel about the May Day dances and the fairies and it just was an odd place for us to dump about this, but I know that it needs to be planted in Julia's head that, oh my gosh, because she even says they go back 100 years or like this or whatever happened, and Julia is then like, oh my God, that's what happened to me. That's what happened to me. Oh my God, how did this happen? And it just was a weird place for it to be dumped. I know Julia had to hear about that, but I kind of wish it had been her overhearing someone talking about it in a different place than right now when we're in the middle of this. We need to get you to see Brian, and we dump it all. I don't know. I feel like it would have been smarter for her to overhear something somewhere else. And then she could have suggested to Ellen, well, why don't you tell him that you'll meet him at this thing, right? And it could be a good opportunity, right? And that could have been her into Inverness. But I don't know. It just felt a little clunky. Whatever. That's just my opinion. It got us to the same place. It just felt really clunky for Ellen to tell the stranger that is in her room that she just met about a May Day celebration and the 100-year thing with it was just weird. Okay. That makes more sense to overhear that when you're working in the kitchen or something, not when you're on a mission for Brian Fraser. But anyway, Julia tells Ellen that you need to go for it. If you don't, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. And it's true, like, no one but Julia could really tell that to her because, I mean, Julia took a whim on a man she was writing letters to who is at war, you know? So it is true that Julia knows a bit what she's talking about, right? So they end up making a break for it. They sneak out to where Brian is waiting. And he, you know, said, I had to know if you really want to marry the Grants. And she's, of course, like, he's like, I had to look in your eyes and ask you. And she's like, and what are my eyes saying? And he's like, that you don't want to. And she's like, we can't be together. And he's like, yes, we can. No, we can't. Like, back and forth. And they basically make the idea that they will meet at the May Day celebration. She has been asked to attend with, for the Grants and like to solidify their engagement at this. And so we'll come back around to that again, but she'd already been like, I'm just not going to do this. Like she was so just going to fight it with everything that she had. But they agree and they part ways that on Beltane they will meet and, that's when they're going to run away together because they'll be able to like get there and that will be their best opportunity. So they have to, Julia and Brian have to make a run for it because Dougal happens to be marching around at night. I guess he was on guard duty, but no, he's not. He's sneaking home from a girl's home. And he then threatens her again and he's like, I'll escort you back in. And she's like, no. These boys, I'm calling them boys, they are on their last straw with Ellen. And I know they think they're so powerful, but like, just be careful what you're messing with, all right? There are still people who would have Ellen's back. Like, there really are. And they should be careful who they step on because they are getting on my nerves. They're getting on my nerves, everyone. Not good. All right, then we go back to the rent. And this is when he introduced the lottery. Sorry, I spoke about that too soon. But Bug is like, what are you doing? And he's like, I am going to get the money one way or the other. And this is how I'm choosing to do it. So deal with it. And, oh man, I want him to punch. I mean, it's so unsatisfying because, like, I know he's not going to kill Bug right now, but, you know, I'm still wondering who's going to take Bug's fingers. I know people in the comments have been mentioning that that's not going to be Dougal. It was a foreshadowing, but I think it's going to be someone. And there's going to be something that goes down later on that he loses those fingers. And it could be Dougal or it could be Henry. I don't know, but someone's taking those fingers and I am ready for it to happen. Okay, then we have Brian and Julia on their way back home. Now, this was something I wanted to mention. It took a whole night to go to the apothecary and back, is what they're going to tell the dad, I guess. It was just weird because they took off the day before. The nighttime is when we met with Ellen, and now we're on the way back to Castle Leathers and it's the daytime again. So this trip took this whole, like, a whole day. Like, that was interesting. But either way, where did they stay that night? I have questions. Like, I just have questions because it was day, night, and day again, and they're on their way home. But either way, they make the plans, and Brian is sympathetic to Julia, and she's like, I have to get away. Like, the best chance to find my husband is Inverness. And that is where the Beltane celebration is going to be, the one that Ellen is going to try to get to. And she's like, please pick me to go with you there and help me escape. And he said, I promised I would help you. So let's go for it. Now, the thing that, well, nope, we're not jumping ahead. At the end, I'll tell you my predictions. Sorry. Sorry. Okay, then Ellen walks in to see Calm, and she has a list of guests to invite to the wedding. She says she's going to play his game to get where she needs to be. And she knows now if she complies with her brother, they'll stop being so suspicious of her. She lays out a good reason for it because her brother's like, why are you so amenable? Why did you give me this list of invites? I don't understand it. But she's like, I don't want to fight with you. Let's just do it. But let's, now she will get to have some say in it, right? I think it was very cunning of her to do, let's just say. Very smart. So the page is set, the stage is set, and that is when it's going to happen. So now there'll be the celebration, and hopefully Brian can get to it with Julia. We know the Grants are going to be there. Anyway, I said I'll get there later, but Ellen has agreed. All right. Let's round this off here. Okay, back to the Grants. Henry brings home the pile of money, and he says, I brought home double what you told me I needed to raise them to. And still, Grant is like, but that's not how I told you to do it. You let people have it easy for once. And Henry's like, you should be careful. Like, these people, if you starve them out, like, they're not going to be producing for you anyway. But a dictator never thinks about that. They just want to crush the people under their heels no matter what, right? And so he doesn't want to make anything easier. And he says this statement that to me is so antithetical about what my favorite parts of Highlanders are, that it just shows that this guy needs to go. And I hate saying that because, again, this actor has passed on from what I've heard. I believe it's this actor from stuff I looked up. He says, Highlanders respect strength and forsake kindness. And he says that statement so assuredly, and I just kind of laughed a little bit because I find that to be the opposite of all the best of the Highlanders we've met, right? Like, anyway, I don't know. I just think of Jamie. Who is one of the firmest and fairest, and yes, a very kind man. He's not a safe man or an easy man, but he's so kind and looks out for those weaker than him. And a man like Grant is just so the opposite of that. It is just painful to see. But I will say the Highlanders we've been introduced to in this series, besides Brian, I can see why that statement would be said. But I wrote in my notes, that's a crock of BS. And I said, when Bug then says, do you want me to kill him? And Grant says, not yet. We'll see what else he can do for us. And I wrote down, fuck you all, is what I wrote down. He's planning to kill him. Well, hopefully that'll make it easy for Henry to turn on him when the time comes anyway. Yeah. Hope that happens. All right, then we go back to 1917, and this is when Henry was in bed saying he's sorry for what he's done. So I mentioned that too soon. That happens sometimes when I'm going back through my notes. And he tells her that, because earlier in the episode, she'd asked if he had any names for girls, and he didn't, because he was sure it was going to be a boy. He's mostly joking. But when they're in bed, then he says, if it's a girl, we'll call her Claire, which means clear and bright in French. And then we have Henry going back to the brothel, and he goes to see this same woman, and he goes for peace. He just wants to relax. And she's like, you're not just looking for a specific woman to sleep with, are you? And he tells her, no, I'm looking for my wife. And he's like, I don't know what happened to her, but she's what I want. She's what I need. And so he stays there again. And the lady again tries to offer herself to him. And he's like, I don't need that. I just need peace. And then our final scene here is back at Castle Leathers. And Julia goes to see the Laird. And I don't know how long it's supposed to have been, but she says she's pregnant. And the Laird seems so pleased because, yes, he just loves getting all the maids pregnant. We know this. And just as Davina is walking up to the door, and he says, I'm going to be a father again. And Davina says, congratulations. And he says, I hope it's a boy. And Davina is looking at her, and she's looking at her, and Julia's looking back at her. And I really hope that Brian's mom isn't going to hurt us here. That's making me nervous, but she's also been one of those who's been cast aside before. So, yeah, so that is our episode 4. And what I would rank this one. This one's tough because this one was hard to like watch just for my heart. Like it was hard to watch it, right? But I think that as for an episode put together, this one was very good. I liked it better than episode 3. So, man, I need to look what I've ranked stuff. But I think I would put this one at almost an 8 maybe. I don't know. It's like a 7.5 or an 8. I really enjoyed it. I have to remember what I rated episodes 1 and 2 because I think I liked those ones a lot as well. But either way, the few things I was going to comment on. So, obviously, it seems, you know, like Beltane, the celebration there, that's where a lot of the stuff is going to go down. And I now am having an idea of like why I think they got the second season of this. Because the way they're pacing this, I don't know where things will end with it. But obviously, we're aiming for, if things go according to some of the plans laid out, Julia has set it up that Brian will be bringing her with to Inverness. Ellen has set it up that she's going to be, you know, accepting this betrothal to happen. And so the Mackenzies will be there, and then the Grants will be there. And that should mean that Henry will be there as well. Now, Julia, she doesn't necessarily know that Henry came through, right? Like, she does not know that. Like, Henry knows Julia came through because he saw the arrow written, but she doesn't know that Henry came through. So her going to the Stones, she is probably looking for to go back. But the thing is, you know, I mean, we know that she won't go through. But will they be there at the same time, or will they drag out Julia and Henry finding each other into another season? I don't know. I don't think so, because it would be beyond frustrating for people if we all end up at the Beltane situation and then don't see each other, right? Like, we need to get these 4 people all in the same area, and I think it can happen. I think that it can happen, but we'll see. But yeah, anyway, I mean, I also, there's other things I have guesses at, but for those of you who don't know the history of Brian and Ellen, I don't just want to blurt all those things out, because that is a lot of the plot that will be coming, and I don't want to do that. But based on how I know interactions with Ellen and her brothers and Brian and her brothers go down, and what Brian's father has to do with it, which I think we're seeing a bit of that happen, where he is like not gonna let this go, right? He wants to like punish the Grants and the Mackenzies for going behind his back or whatever, and Ellen is becoming the target of that, right? We also see in a clip of the head that Murtagh is probably going to see these 2 meeting. What's he going to do? I truly hope they don't have Murtagh mess that up in any way, because that wouldn't be book canonical, but I mean, he is going to be really hurt by it. But is one of the things that will make him so devoted to being Jaime's godfather that he messes something up, and now that's his pet. Like, I don't know. I'm unsure. But this episode was good. A couple of my favorite scenes. I mean, gosh, they make me so mad, but some of my favorite scenes are Colm and Ellen sparring with each other. Like, truly, the banter and the deviousness between them, I love that stuff. I do. Again, it infuriates me because I'm like, Colm, you absolute asshat. Like, I hate you. He is good at playing the game. And Ellen just never backing down. Like, oh, there's so much of Brianna in her. And I understand why everyone says, like, oh, you look like your grandmother. Like, there's so much of her in there. And I just love seeing it. Like, I love seeing it so much. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this recap and review of this one. Of course, as always, let us know your thoughts down below. I still don't have any like huge issues that come up. I think a lot of that will come up more once I know what the Julia and Henry full storyline is going to be. Like, that is the storyline I'm most nervous about what they're doing with it. The Brian and Ellen stuff, I just love watching it play out. I'm cool with how it's playing out. As from the beginning, I'm most nervous about what the Claire and Henry stuff is and what that will all mean. But I'm still enjoying myself as well. It's great. So thank you so much for watching, my friends. I appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.